Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. I hope you are well this Monday morning. We are going to chat a little bit about some workouts as well as um, getting to work out. Something I realized this morning as it was, it's a January in Maryland. Not a sunny day. Actually, it's raining on us. Weather's in the 30s, which could be worse. Not complaining. Uh, but rainy, wet, cold, dark, kind of sucks. I get it. But, we don't have to work out outside anymore because COVID kicked us out of our weight rooms a couple of years ago. So we don't have to do this. But guess what? We get to. And that changes the mindset tremendously with just whether or not you really want to be there or not. So we have some really cool guys that train with us locally here. Many of them came from out of state. A couple of them were living out of country. We also got some local active duty guys who are stationed in the area: Annapolis, Fort Meade, DC. There's some bases nearby, and they come and join us. We have other law enforcement and firefighters as well. So we get to do this stuff, and that's just fun. I think I heard this recently with a friend who was battling cancer, which sucks, by the way. Um, but he was like, you know what? I don't have to go take chemotherapy right now. I get to. So it takes it really deep to that point of like, I'm still alive. I'm still fighting. I get to do this. And that guy just crushed it. That is, whenever you have those type of ailments, I hope you have that kind of mindset as well. But you can carry that mindset into everything that you do. Anytime that you say to yourself, "Oh, I have to go do this. I have to go do that." Just stop right there and say, "No, I get to go do this." Changes everything. It really makes things lighter, and it's just nice. So that is really all I am really going to chat about that. I'll probably write an article on this one because it's in my back of my brain. I haven't really let it filter out, but I was running this morning. It was raining on me. I was cold, just stepped in a puddle. Feet were wet, hands are cold, and I just realized I get to do this. So change everything. Mindset completely reversed. So try that. It's pretty powerful. Another thing I'm going to do, Jeff Nichols and I are going to do a podcast tomorrow, and I'll have that posted up here probably tomorrow afternoon. We're going to talk about ice baths, whether or not uh, they're good or bad or both, depending on, how you do them. They could be potentially dangerous, but they could also be very helpful. In fact, I'm curious if any of you guys are doing ice baths yet. What is some of your feedback on your ice bath experience? I see some helpful things with inflammation. It does increase your metabolic output because your body is now all of a sudden focused on burning calories to stay warm and get warm. So you can actually burn more calories being cold. Um, but it also, reduces inflammation, helps with joint pain, muscle pain, things like that. As far as recovery is concerned, the jury's out on whether or not it actually helps with recovery. They have found something though, that if you don't want to put on muscle, ice baths are good. But if you're in the middle of a mass building program, you're trying to gain 10 pounds, ice baths will actually dampen your ability to put on mass optimally, if at all. You may even go backwards. So if you're a hard gainer, my suggestion would be, and you're trying to gain, don't do ice baths. If you're an easy gainer like me, now that I'm older, I used to be a hard gainer. Now that I'm an older guy, ice baths may be helpful in that, to where I don't put on mass, because I have one of those bodies that if I lift, or I should say it this way, if I look at food and look at weights, I will gain weight, right? If I lift them and eat, obviously, I will just put on mass. It's just something that happens to me really quickly. I can go from 200 to 220 like that. However, going from 220 to 200 is a bitch. So I think that's just with being older. I can't outwork my diet anymore. So I gotta, if I'm gonna lose that kind of weight, I need to do it on both ends of the spectrum. How much I'm eating and train harder. So there you go. But yeah, I've done them. Put a little note in there. Let me know how you liked them. Brochacho. uh, it's all about mindset. Yes, you have to love it for real. I would agree. You really do. I'm 54. Just turned 54 this weekend. Been doing this for holy crap, over 40 years. I started working out when I was 13. I played sports when I was a little kid, but not training to work out. So I started working out when I was 13. So that is now, damn, where'd that time go? 41 years? I don't think I've missed many workouts in 41 years. It's just not something I choose to do. Yeah. Hey, good morning. How likely or unlikely are age waivers for older guys wanting to go to buds if they have still their PST scores? What else can they do to make themselves competitive for SOAS or so? I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of people confusing the age waiver thing. Like, I know the Navy has changed the age waiver to like 42, but if you read it, it's not 42 joining the military. You can join the military, you know, let's say you join it at 25, right? And you're enlisted for a few years. And 10 years in, you're at 35 years old and you want to commission to be an officer from that age has changed to 42. So you got to read what has occurred there. They haven't just started allowing 42-year-olds to go to buds. At least the way I study it. And put it this way, I would not even consider whether or not they have an age waiver until you go to the SEALSWIC website, sealswic.com, and you actually search it. Like for me, all you got to do is click that apply button. They do have cool stuff on this website. You guys should know this website back and forward. So here's the deal. Civilian, prior service enlisted, SEAL, got to have a birth certificate. You got to have all this stuff. Earn a contract. Let me see. Where's the age? Right now, I don't even see the age on here. Maybe I'm missing something. Hmm. Age, here it is. 17 to 28. SWIC is 17 to 30. Until they change this, I'm not buying you can join at 42. Period. Um, how much are age waivers available? I don't know. It really kind of depends. But yeah, if you're a stellar PST scores, got killer resume, um, I think that would be helpful for you. Um, but it's kind of hit or miss. Let's see. Next one. Tied to the above for you personally, at what point do you think guys are themselves out of buds or SF at large? Um, does having a tactical background make a difference, i.e., SWAT, Fed, SRT? Yeah, I think so. Having a tactical background does make a difference. However, I have seen guys go from civilian at age 33 and get to buds and through buds. So 32, 33 several times. Um, I have also seen and friends with a guy who made it through buds at age 38. However, he was in the Navy for about 8 years prior to that. So he just did a lateral transfer at age 38 and made it through, which was very impressive. And then when I went to Army SF graduation recently, there was a guy 43 that made it through the SF pipeline. So, it can be done. Definitely. I think I missed a. So, how many times can someone repeat a week in one of your programs before it affects his or her overall performance? Um, I personally don't like to repeat my weeks more than twice, maybe three times max. Um, Now I have a lot of people who do my online coaching, and it's a 12-week plan, but it's also 12 weeks by me writing 12 weeks of workouts. So what they will do is they will extend that plan to 24 weeks by doing each week twice. And, it saves money. You're on the program longer. We're still in contact, even though I'm not making a workout for you that week. A lot of times, the second time around, people do better because they're not, having to understand the arrangement of the workouts. They can preset it up the next time and they understand, how to move quickly from one exercise to the other, how to fit in the run and the swim, where to juggle it in their schedule. If they need to do that when something changes as to how I wrote it, didn't fit their way they thought their schedule would be. But yeah, you do the same thing with these programs too. You can just you'll find that the second time around is probably going to be better. You have two ways to do it. You could do one of two things. So let's say you're doing the FBI fitness test workout and you have about 6 months before you take the test or go to the academy or whatever. This is a 12-week plan, I think. Um, let's just say it is. And you can do it one of two ways. You can go through it, and if you have to make alterations, you can just make those alterations. And then you go through the whole thing again and see if you can crush it without making those alterations, meaning you had to make them easier. That is a great way to do it as well. So it's up to you. You can do the whole program as is, or you can do each week twice, turn a 12-week program into a 24-week program. Good question, though. So, bro Chacho, let's see. What do you say here? Ice baths will improve many things, including mental strength and endurance. Sure, I would agree. I would also say that there's definitely a time limit you want to be in there. It could be potentially dangerous. Hypothermia, frostbite, especially if you're getting in there too cold. I think there's a temperature range that is still tough, but also therapeutic. But I also think there's a temperature range that is very tough and dangerous to your body, meaning frostbite, hypothermia, real quickly. Um, but yeah, um, so there's this balancing act that goes into this, I think, and I think with anything like this, especially if you're doing it for mental strength and endurance, there's a fine line between mental toughness and stupidity. You guys have heard me say that many times, and this is one of those things that it's kind of one of those. It could be potentially deadly, right? And that's pretty stupid if you're in there and you kill yourself because you're frozen. So I'm playing both sides of this one. I've been in bathtubs and cold water showers and whatever for years. In fact, I did it this morning. Um, so, but I also do it at like 50-degree water versus 35-degree water. Last question: do you see any benefit in long, continuous swimming? Sure, provided consistently consistent with our 50-50 intervals. Can long, slow swims give you more endurance, similar to running? Um, Well, put it this way. I mean, you should be able to get good at 4,000 yards of swimming, and you can do that with fins or without fins. Doesn't really matter. Um, I would recommend doing it more with fins than without fins because at Buds, you will do a 4,000-yard swim, a 2 nautical mile swim with fins in the ocean every week for every week that you're there. And then a couple of them will build up to a 6 mile um, swim. So I think it's 5 nautical miles, but if you do the math on that, it's actually 6 land miles. So it's up to you how you do the math there. 10,000 yards is, a 10K. So that's 6.2 miles, but it's a 5 nautical mile swim. So yeah, you got to get good at that, and that's a slower endurance pace, though it's still somewhat fast. You should be able to do 4,000 in 70 minutes. If you can go under 70 minutes, that's even better. If you can keep it between 60 and 70, you're top 10% of the class. Is where I would recommend being, and it's not that fast to do. You just got to get your ankles used to swimming with fins more than anything. Coming straight from work session, bike, swim, sauna, and some breath work in the cold ocean water. Nice. Ready for a live stream. All right, Mikhail. I like that. Shins are starting to feel okay to jog again. How do you recommend I get back into running? I assume you're stretching your ankles well, massaging, even rolling some shins. The shin muscles, not the shin bones. Got to kind of lean it over to the side to do that. Um, I assume you're doing that. That should help as well. But my advice is, anytime that you're getting back into running, don't start off immediately where you left off. So treat yourself like a beginner for a couple of weeks and maybe limit it to, um, here I would say, limit it to 10 miles a week. Right. That's a couple miles a day, for 5 days, 2 days off somewhere in the week. Uh, but then you can supplement it with additional biking and swimming and stair stepper or whatever, uh, is what I would do. So 10 miles a week. So for you, that would be, what is 10 miles there? 6K? I can't even do the math. No, 10K, 6 miles. So probably about a 15K roughly, 15K a week, the metric system. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Try some jumping jacks, see how those feel. As long as jumping jacks don't hurt you, you could probably definitely pick up the run. But then go up to it, each week, increase it. And then I'd say probably by 3 weeks, as long as you're feeling no pain, you can probably be back up to where you were. Got a question, been debating either I should go Navy to become a SEAL or Marine Recon. Do you have any advice so I can know which one to commit? You know what? Both are great options. I don't have any advice other than a very generic form of advice. First of all, thanks for choosing to serve and choosing in two different branches of service. We're all on the same team. A lot of the training is very similar. Um, you're just going to work for a different person. You're going to be working for the Marines when you deploy with a Marine task force. You're going to be working for that Marine task force commander. Now, you can go into recon and go into MARSOC. And then when you're in the MARSOC, you're part of the same chain of command as SEALs and PJs, um, Army SF. They're all under the SOCOM commander. So it's two different mission sets, two different chain of commands. Um, but you can't go wrong with either one of them. I have a lot of friends that are recon MARSOC guys. I have a lot of friends that are SEALs, obviously, Green Berets, PJs, and it's funny because we're all the same guy, just wearing a different uniform. We all have the same type of humor, same type of hard work ethic. Um, everybody's sharp, have great experiences in life. That got them to where they were and are. And yeah, I just want to just say you can't go wrong with either one. So choosing one over the other is difficult. Um, you know what? Actually, I was recruited by Army and Navy for football, but I knew I wanted to go to a service academy. My whole family was Army. I don't think I had anybody in the Navy. So everybody wanted me to go West Point. Well, being the 18-year-old kid that I was, I just wanted to do something different. And I get it. My son is also doing the same thing. My son is 20 years old and he wants to do something different. He is going to serve in some form of forensic, law enforcement, cybercrime. I'm not sure where he's going to land in the world, but he is going to serve in some other fashion. So I understand you know wanting to do something different. So I did, and the big deciding factor for me literally was after I graduate, where would I be living? And I noticed that all the Navy bases are on a coast, which is they're going to have a beach town on it. And I like beach towns. I grew up in Florida. So that made a lot of sense to me. Whereas Army bases are just everywhere. Some are really nice locations, some are not. But it just hit me like boom, that's where I want to be. It was really determined more where I would be living than what I would be doing. Because at that time I wanted to be a pilot. So my mind changed. So hope that helps. But you can't go wrong. Can you talk about those plantar fasciitis? How can I still train, do cardio, calisthenics, run? Yeah, you know what? Plantar fasciitis sucks. In fact, I've written an article about it, which I will share with you. I'm going to go to the Google machine and type in plantar fasciitis, Stu Smith. And what happens? Boom. Somebody actually has asked me this question before. Go figure. Um, and it's an article I wrote on military.com on the Ask Stu column. It's called Plantar Fasciitis, How to Keep Running. So, man, that is just perfect for you. You need to read that article I just linked in there. But I will tell you this. It sucks first thing in the morning. My advice is get some sort of sleeve that doesn't allow your foot to drop in the morning. Then you can actually walk on your heels when you first wake up. Otherwise, you're going to be tippy toeing until that tendon loosens up, and then you can go for start walking, and then you can start running. You got to warm your feet up before you run, and then you'll find that while you're running, nothing hurts. I mean, it takes about a mile to warm up like that, but during the workout, it feels fine. During the rest of the day, it feels fine. It's just when you first wake up, it just hurts like hell. Um, so, um, yeah, you got to try to keep that loose. I found that some inserts in my shoes were very helpful. If you wear dress shoes at all or boots, make sure you have good inserts in those as well, besides your running shoes. In fact, what I did is I had really good inserts for my shoes, my running shoes, and I would put them in my dress shoes if I had to wear dress shoes that day. Made a huge difference because I think I got plantar fasciitis from hard runs in the morning, and then I'd work wearing dress shoes, walking around, and um, next thing I know, my feet were hurting. So it has a lot to do with your shoes. Make sure you get a new pair of shoes, good inserts, good support, and massage the hell out of your feet using a tennis ball at first, advance to a lacrosse ball, something cold can be foam rolled on it as well. In fact, I would put something in the freezer like like something like this. I'd put a like a vitamin thing in the freezer filled with water and would use that as kind of like a mini foam roller for my feet. And that was good. And then you find this one little spot at the heel where your fascia connects somewhere or some tendon down there connects. And you find that little spot and it hurts and you just hit it hard to a point of where you might even have tears rolling down your eyes. But it's a weird pain. It's like it hurts, but it feels good at the same time. It's very strange. And once I did that, my plantar fasciitis was gone. So it can be a long road, but read that article. That may help you. Thank you, sir. Belated happy birthday. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. What should someone do if they're physically unable to do one push up or pull up and they're not obese? I would suggest lifting weights. Might be very light weights, might be dumbbells at first. Roll over on your back and do, you know, push ups with dumbbells in your hands. Um, you can also try knee push ups, or you could try assisted pull ups with bands, or you can use one of those Gravitron machines or pull down machines for pull ups. But it's a it's going to be a long journey for you, so be patient. And if you're thinking about serving, you need probably 2 years of training before you even talk to a recruiter, before you're even near ready, if that's what you're trying to do. But just be patient, do the easier options of pull ups and push ups until you can do an actual pull up and push up. And then once you get your first pull up and push up, you've just added enough strength to do pull ups and push ups. Then you have to turn it into an endurance exercise so you can do 20 push ups and 5 pull ups and 40 push ups and 10 pull ups. It becomes an endurance muscle stamina exercise after you've established some strength. So think of it that way. What should your weekly running mileage be before you go to Buds? This Bud's medical staff says you shouldn't go to Bud's until you're running 40 miles a week and 30% of that in the sand. That's not bad advice. I think that's fine. I typically run my guys anywhere between 25 and 40. And if we're running lower mileage, it's all fast. So that means we're focused on mile and a half being at 6 minute mile pace, and we're focused on 4 miles and above being at 7 minute mile pace. And if you wanted to throw in a few long, slow distances to add 5 or 10 miles, as long as you're capable of doing that, you can. But I tend to get all of my guys crushing 25 miles a week at all the paces they need. And then if they want to add in some long, slow distance runs on the back end of that, they can. And that's just, 30 minutes every other day. You throw in some jogs just to work on some aerobic base. Yeah, that's fine. That way you build up to um, 35, 40, but they're not all slow distance. 25 miles of that is going to be put out miles. The other 10 or 15 can be steady pace, nothing crazy, but, just a different energy system and keep it low. So, in fact, I have an article for you. I want you to read this. And this one's just, I even started it off a little lower. This is just 20 miles a week. So most people can kind of jump into this as long as they're not, completely new to running. This is a 20-mile a week plan that keeps you at 20 miles for 6 weeks, I think. And it shows you how to break up the days from running sand, running hills, running um, intervals on a track, sprints. It has it all mixed in there, so it's pretty diverse in your training. There's also an option to run some longer, slower distance if you want to. But where a lot of people go wrong is they'll do 40 or 50 miles a week, and a majority of that mileage is just 9-minute miles. And that's no way to go. They never really got good at running 7-minute miles, and they wonder why they fail a 4-mile timed run when they get there. So there you go. These young men give me hope for the future. Yes, I would agree, sir. I say that all the time, and I'm honored to be part of your journey. Really. Ben, thanks. Appreciate that. Since swimming is a weakness of mine, I've been crushing that because of the shins. You know what? That's a really good point because sometimes an injury causes us to just stop training and be a little bit depressed that you got injured. Your body has failed you. I get it. I've been there. But you really turned it around and we're saying, you know what? Kind of like the Jocko saying, good. I can't run. I need to work on my swimming anyway. That's a good mindset, man. Good. I stretch calves, ankles, shins, train them, every other day, do a total mobility days whenever in the program. Good. Good. I think that's going to be very helpful for you, Mikhail. Respect to you for live streaming if it's your birthday. No, my birthday was Saturday. So unsure if it's today or if it was the weekend. Thought you heard say it. Yeah. It was my birthday on Saturday. So I had a weekend birthday. But I would do it anyway. It's not a big deal. Besides, I just like I started this show with, I don't have to do this. I don't have to get on here and do live streams. I don't make any money from it. I'm not selling you anything. Well, I'm sending you to my website, but that's about as much as I do. It doesn't cost anything to do this. I get to do this, right? I am really excited to be a coach. I love being a coach. It's not something that I have to do. I just enjoy doing it. So, um, once again, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. So, my friend in the Marines told me that recon and Navy both do sea, air, land, but the recon more in the woods and the Navy more in the water. Is that true? Um, Probably. I don't know the actual percentage. If it comes out to a third, a third, a third. Uh, but um, it really depends. Sometimes you won't even get wet on training ops and actual missions, depending on where they were. So you'll be air and land most of it, all of it. So it really kind of depends. You learn all three. That's the goal. You learn to be capable, sea, air, and land. Then you're an asset anywhere in the world. Doesn't really matter who does more or what. We're all good at all three. And then depending on the job, you get done. Last question. Do you know any good explosive workouts so I can get better in running and swimming? Also for combat, what is a good rep range? Dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, Just work out. Uh, Here's the deal. Look at that article I just typed in there. It's a running plan I just did a second ago. The 50-50 swim workout is a good one as well. But if you want to train and actually be an asset in any potential dangerous situation, whether it is natural or man made, that is what these programs are all about. Seasonal tactical fitness periodization. And what this is, these are the programs that don't allow for you to ignore weaknesses. Because I promise you, in any dangerous situation, or if it's just spec ops training for that matter, your weaknesses will be exposed immediately. Definitely within the first day. Something along that you have ignored will be exposed and you'll get hammered. It could be as simple as treading water, it could be running in boots, could be swimming with fins, could be load bearing with boats and logs, could be any of those things. So, my suggestion if you're wanting to be a tactical athlete where you want to be an asset in potentially dangerous situations, call it what you want, seasonal tactical fitness periodization is the program that will develop all the elements of fitness so you can be an asset in any particular event. All right. Hoping my 1.9 miles time improves. Starting basic in 9 days. Haven't been able to run for a while. Going on Olympic. Yeah, let me know when you run again. Especially if you've been doing those bike pyramids. I'm really excited to hear your first run whenever you can run, how you do. Because I have had so many, but just myself alone, but I've had so many people do that bike pyramid when they cannot run and they actually start running and they're faster again. So I'm really interested to see that. So hopefully you'll be able to run before you get out there just to test it out. What type of swim trunks can you use for official PST jammers, UDT style shorts? I wouldn't get the UDT style shorts. I think those are officially, I would say they are, um, or I should say unofficially, those are really reserved for guys in the military. Um, that you might be made fun of even for like having UDT shorts before you even join the military. Um, if you're in the military already and you're training for recon, that's a different story, right? Marines, I think, can use those. But my advice is the jammer is a lot more hydrodynamic. And if you get the jammer shorts versus where UDT or board shorts, I promise you, you will be 20 seconds faster than not wearing those and wearing something that's not as form fitting. 20 to 30 seconds faster, I've seen people take off their 500-yard swims with that. So go with the jammer. Since you always talk about TRX, I'd like to know the main difference with gymnastics rings. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I have rarely used gymnastic rings, and when I do, I use them like a TRX. So gymnastics rings are similar. TRX rings are just easier to manipulate to make a single hold, and you can also make them longer, make them shorter. Um, but it's up to you. I mean, I have rings that I have available to me. I just prefer the TRX. When you guys are doing 2000, did it this morning? Do they use long or short fins? We've had both. I had some new guys that don't have long fins yet, and so they they did it in short fins. In fact, you can see the video I posted up on Instagram. We are swimming with long fins. for 2,000. So I just took a video of a guy doing 100 yards, uh, posted it up because it's a great leg day after exercise. But it really kind of depends. I personally, I don't really need to wear long scuba fins anymore and blow up my ankles. So I wear the shorter slip-on fins and I'm fine. But I'm not going to buds or any spec ops training. All my guys going to buds or spec ops training have built up to the longer fins. So they started off with the shorter fins and maybe a month later they added the scuba fins. So good question. Let's see. Looks like somebody tried to answer someone else's question. Do I lack endurance? I can do 24 pull-ups in the first set. If I'm doing, example, a pyramid, my pull-up starts decreasing fast. You know what I would do? If you really want to test your endurance for muscle stamina, um, do it this way. Do 100 pull-ups in max rep sets. And if you need to rest, it's basically rest with some kind of active rest. 400-meter run or a 2-minute bike. Something kind of easy, just keeps you moving, and that's your rest. And see how many sets it takes you to get 100 pull-ups. Now, if it takes you 5 sets, I would say you have really good endurance. Even 6 sets. But if it takes you 7 to 10, probably could work on your endurance because that means your pull-ups went from 24 your first set to maybe 20 your second set to 15 to 10. That is a weakness of muscle stamina. I've had guys do 100 sets or 100 reps in 4 sets. Even had two dudes do it in 3 sets. That was sick. He did like 35, 33, 32 or something, I think, which was just ridiculous. Um, and but most of the guys I've seen 4 sets of 25 done pretty regularly. So, or 5 sets of 20. And I would consider that very good too. So, my recommendation if you're trying to do that is don't burn it out to where you're failing on that very last rep. So, let's say you probably could have done 25, but you stopped at 24. But that 25th would have been, like a 5-second pull up to get up there. That's wasting too much energy. That's taking fatigue to failure. There's nothing wrong with failing, but you don't want to do it too often, especially if you're trying to do a 100 rep set. Yeah, 100 rep sets. Um, Always leave one in the hole. So if you think you're about to fail, just drop off before you fail, actually. And you may find that your recovery is faster and you can hit those, 4 or 5 sets of 20 plus to get that 4 to 5 sets of 100 reps. That's how I test muscle stamina, endurance, and calisthenics, specifically pull-ups. Is there a way to do your training group remotely? It sounds like your workouts are great. I do have, well, here's the deal. I have a Stu Smith Fitness membership program on my website. You go to stewsmithfitness.com, drop down menu, you'll see a membership site. Those workouts that I send out to people, they're generic workouts, but they're my workouts that I do with my guys. And if you ever make the trip here and you stay with us, like we have guys here that are here for the week. And one of my gifts to someone who shows up from, let me see, I think the last guy was here from Minnesota, came here from Minnesota, stayed a week. One of my gifts to them as they crush the week with us is I put them on that newsletter and it's free for them. So they're on as long as they want to do it. But if you can't, there is a Stu Smith membership site that not only gets you my weekly workouts, but you have access to 500 weeks of my workouts. I have been doing this membership program for, I don't know, let me think, 8 years probably. So 50 workouts a year on an advanced spec ops level and 50 workouts a year on a beginner intermediate level. And you have access to that huge library of workouts. So it's like $1 a day. Do you have any strength standards for the big three lifts people should hit before heading to selection? I do. In fact, I have an article called Physical Assessment Tools to Get to and Through Selection. And I'm going to post that in the comments section. But just off the strength things, I got weighted pull-ups 25 pounds 10 to 15 plus, body weight bench press 10 to 15 plus reps, deadlift 1.5 to 2.0 body weight 1 to 5 reps. I've recently changed that to 3 reps, but 3 rep max between 1.5 and 2.0 your body weight. So as me, a 200-pound guy, 300 to 400 pounds, that is my range. I need to be able to do it 1 to 3 5 3 to 5 times. Let's see. I think squats is also the same. 1.5 body weight, 5 reps or more. Standing long jump, lunges, chest carry lunges with a 40-pound. Can you do 400 meters? And then the biggest part of that is not being sore 2 days later. That takes some building up to. I have a hang clean about body weight, 5 to 10 reps, 0.75 to body weight, 5 to 10 reps. So there's some lifts in there. Definitely. There's definitely a lot of cardio and cows in there too. But you guys check out this for our assessment tool. And I got most of these from a study they did at Buds on all the different scores that people who made it through Hell Week, as a majority of them who made it through Hell Week, were able to do. So it was a pretty good study. And in fact, I think there's a video on that where Jeff Nichols and I break it all down from their statistical analysis and added a few more things that we have seen to be helpful. But all these scores here, by the way, are from guys that were here locally that made it through training, and these were their scores. Let's see, off topic, based on your interest in astronomy, are you interested in astrology as well? No. Don't really know about astrology or the horoscope or anything like that. Just never got into it. I like just looking up at the stars and knowing what I'm looking at. And yes, I'll say there's, you know, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. So there's some constellations in there, but I like looking for planets too, but I don't really understand or really care to learn about astrology. I will say this though, this next week and month, you should be able to see a comet up in the sky that hasn't been in our orbit for 50,000 years. So last time this comet flew past us, we were cave people. So give that a thought when you see it. Should be next week. Maybe even be able to see it this week with some binoculars. But I think earlier last week it crossed the sun and now it's coming towards us or something. I don't know. It's a big space out there. Takes a little time to get to us. That's funny that you say with Jocko. My phone wallpaper says good. Yep, it is good. I mean, I like that philosophy. Work on something else. Having obstacles with the dead man float travel. I'm a dense guy, muscle wise, so I keep sinking. What's your approach to that? Um, 3 weeks doing your PJIFT program. Nice. I hope you like it. I think I have that thing sitting out here somewhere. I think it's in my Spec Ops pile. So I have a Spec Ops pile here. Yeah, this is a good one. This is one of my better sellers right now. That thing is crushing it. A lot of people wanting to go Air Force. But you know what? They need Air Force candidates because if you notice, when they're starting to offer bonuses, they need more candidates to try out. So it's a good job too. We got a guy in the pipeline trained with us for a while, and he's loving it. Yeah, my recommendation is you should be able to do little dolphin kicks. You're talking about the drown proofing drill, um, where your hands are tied behind your back and your feet tied together. Yeah, try to keep a big chest. Your chest is full of air. Hold your breath and try to get your lungs, your back of your lungs up to the surface. So you're kind of leaning over a little bit at this little like angle like this. So here's your back, here's your legs, right? So you bent over at the waist and get your back full of air, get your lungs full of air and try to get that up to the surface. Try to break the surface. Sometimes that surface tension might be able to hold you up there a little more, um, to a degree, but you may have to kick to stay up there a little bit. Some people, it's just hard to float. You got to put out. But just know that, like treading, which I'm sure treading is hard for you, you got to practice. If you don't practice treading, you don't practice floating, you're going to be behind the eight ball significantly when you start to get tested in that. Because there's a sort of a conditioning that's required just to be a good treader. I'd like to say if you're considered Marines, I'd read Force Design 2030 to see if that suits your goals in life. Yeah, good idea. Let's see. Couple more questions. I got bail. But I'll be back tomorrow at same time, 9 o'clock. I'd like to say if you're, oh, just read that. Sorry. What are the key factors of being a good leader? Woo. Might have to start off with this one tomorrow before we do the um, CSS critiques, because this one takes a little longer to answer. I don't really have a whole lot of time. I had a talk with my mentor, and he mentioned empathy is a good value. I do think general lack of. I think I have a general lack of empathy, but I want to be a good leader. You don't necessarily need to be empathetic too much, but you need to just listen to people and not feel like you have to have an answer all the time. Because if you listen to how people are living, the type of situations that they're having to deal with at home, that could potentially affect their work in the job that you're doing together. Um, that's where empathy, understanding situations, just listening to their problems. One, you might be able to help them by just listening, but at the same time, you kind of need to be on top of it, just just to be aware of things that could go wrong in that type of situation. Because the last thing you want is somebody to have a situation to where they quit showing up for work because they have so many personal problems that you probably could have helped them with a couple months earlier. So think about it in that sense. If you've been a part of a team and you've had teammate having a hard time, whether it was in school or personally with some other person, you try to help them out. It's not much different than that. Just curious, what percentage of civilians that you train with here in Maryland end up completing their pipeline? You know what? I'd say it's in the I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, so it's above 90%. You know, I I wish it was 100%, but I will tell you this, even the guys that didn't make it through really didn't have a physical issue. There are some things that I don't care what program you're a part of, it just doesn't teach. How bad you want something is not something I teach. I don't think anybody teaches it, right? It's really how bad do you want it, is going to determine a significant part of success or failure in any type of program that you do. Because I always say, there's going to be a moment, there's a moment of truth when your will is tested. And that is usually when the day has started early, it has not finished yet, it is already nighttime, you don't see an end to that day, and you are wet, you are sandy, you are cold, you are miserable, you're hungry. And what do you say to yourself when you think, this sucks? What am I doing here? You better have a good answer. And me as a coach, that's what I try to make them understand, that there's going to be that moment. And really, that moment has nothing to do with how I train them physically. Just being aware of that moment, that you're not going to get faster, you're not going to get stronger, has nothing to do with that. It's you getting tougher. And that's on you, on how you want to do it. So even whenever I do not have people who don't make it, it is typically that moment whenever they don't make it. I've heard SOAS is harder than buds. Is that true? No, it's not true. SOAS is a week long. Buds is 26 weeks long. Now, I will say this, in that 1 week, they try to cram in the crappiest weeks of buds into that 1 week. So it's pretty intense, but it's no harder than any week in the first 4 weeks of buds when everybody quits. So everybody quits first phase, week 1, 2, 3, 4, hell week. That's where you'll see the classes drop from 200 down to 20. Right after that, nobody really quits. In fact, it's very rare that someone would quit. People may get kicked out for doing something stupid or failing a tactical test, drown proofing or land nav or shooting or something like that. But um, buds is much harder than SOAS. What kind of underwater drown proofing drills should you work on before buds? Been doing mask retrievals, clear waters, bobbing. That's good. You should do that. In fact, I got something for you. It's called Workouts and Techniques That Help with Drown Proofing Safely. Check out this article. Check this out. It's a good one. Read that, and you may get some ideas to add a few more things in there. All right, folks, I got almost an hour of doing this. Once again, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. So I appreciate you listening. Throw a little like down there. That's always nice. And come back tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow we're going to be reviewing some CSS videos. Um, and we'll have some more discussions as well. So we'll do a live Q&A after some CSS videos, talk a little bit about swimming, and move on from there. So until then, I will see you later. You guys check out StuSmithFitness.com for tons of articles and programming as well. We'll see you later.